They don't want you to know what happens in the first 7 days after death. What I'm about to reveal to you now is considered forbidden in many religious and scientific circles, not because it's a lie, but because the truth is too powerful to be controlled. Get ready, because what you're about to hear will shake everything you believe about the soul, the body, and the exact moment of death. You're about to understand what really happens when the heart stops beating, but consciousness remains awake. In Spiritist doctrine, the moment of death is not the end. It is the beginning of one of the most intense stages of the soul's existence. Imagine for a moment you are lying down. Breathing stops, the body grows cold, but you still feel, see, hear. You are there, but not really there anymore. The body remains, but who you truly are begins to break free. This process, called spiritual detachment, varies for each person, and it is in this moment that everything you were, everything you did and felt, begins to reveal itself before you. Spirits who denied life after death fall into despair. Souls who cultivated goodness are welcomed with light and peace, but most enter a state of disturbance that can last days, weeks, or even centuries. And why does almost no one talk about this? Because knowing this secret completely changes how you live. And those who profit from fear don't want you to awaken. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to share something transformative, a spiritual revelation that could change your life, and also a special gift that only those who are here until the end will receive. By the way, let me know in the comments, where are you watching this video from? I want to feel your presence wherever you are at this exact moment, because the energy of life never fades. The spirit's first perceptions. Right after detachment from the physical body, the spirit enters a state that, for many, is one of deep confusion. That's right. A large number of spirits don't immediately realize they've died. Imagine waking up in a place that seems familiar, but everything is slightly different. You try to speak to people, but no one responds. You walk through the house, see family members crying, hear prayers being said in a low voice, but don't understand why. It is in this moment that many spirits enter a state of anguish and disturbance, desperately trying to get attention, with no success. The accounts brought by mediums and communicating spirits through psychography are numerous and moving. Some say they felt too alive to be dead. Others say they watched their own funeral, heard the mourning, saw the burial, and only then began to realize that something extraordinary had happened. Some go into denial, others into panic. But fortunately, no one is alone in this process. In many cases, loved ones who have already passed appear beside the spirit, coming with love and serenity to explain what happened. In other situations, rescue spirits, members of spiritual rescue teams, approach to guide, comfort, and assist. These encounters are moments of deep emotion, mothers reuniting with children, grandparents embracing grandchildren, friends who passed decades ago reaching out their hands. All of this is part of a loving, organized, and profoundly fair process, governed by spiritual laws. But what happens when the spirit doesn't accept death, or when they are so attached to matter that they refuse to move on? That's what we'll talk about in the next point. And what happens may surprise you. Stay with me. The truth you're about to discover may forever change the way you see life and death. The role of prayer and the vibrations of family members. Few people know, but what we feel, think, and do here on earth after someone's death can directly influence that spirit's journey in the spiritual plane. At the moment of passing, the soul is in transition. It is sensitive, confused, often shaken by the emotions of separation. And it is in this moment that the prayers, thoughts, and feelings of family and friends become true bridges of light or suffering. Spiritist doctrine is clear. Every sincere prayer reaches the spirit like a ray of peace, an invisible hug, a vibration that calms and strengthens. The spirit feels it, they hear it, they perceive the energy. Even if not fully aware of what they're experiencing, they are deeply touched by the vibrations that come from those who stayed behind. Now, imagine the opposite. screams of despair, rage, hatred, guilt. These emotions, unfortunately, trap the spirit in the earthly environment, make detachment harder, and increase their state of disturbance. That's why it's so important that even in the pain of loss, the family tries to maintain an atmosphere of serenity, respect, and love. The funeral, for example, is not just a symbolic act. It is a delicate moment in which the spirit may still be nearby, trying to understand what is happening. Words spoken in that moment carry weight. Intense emotions create energetic waves that directly affect the spirit. So avoid revolt, avoid despair, avoid negative words. Turn this moment into a loving farewell, into an act of faith and trust. Pray, give thanks, send light, because prayer has the power to cross dimensions. And more, if you think it's too late to pray for someone who passed away years ago, you're wrong. In the spiritual plane, time is different. Your prayer can reach them now and still make a difference. And in the next section, we're going to talk about a point that most people completely ignore. What happens to spirits that remain attached to matter even after the body has been buried, and why many of them still walk among us without knowing they've already passed on. What comes next is revealing. Stay until the end. The transition period, the first 7 days. If you've made it this far, it's because you feel that life doesn't end with death, and you're right. But there's something that almost no one talks about, something that is hidden from most. The first 7 days after death are decisive. In Spiritist doctrine, this is the most delicate, intense, and decisive period for the soul outside the physical body. It's when the spirit begins to adapt to the new reality, to awaken to the fact that it no longer belongs to the material plane. And this process can be smooth or extremely painful, depending on its inner state. During these days, the spirit may experience a flood of perceptions. It revisits places, sees people, smells scents, hears sounds, feels emotions, remembers life with impressive clarity. Many report that it's like watching a movie, but not just any movie. It's a review of their own story, every choice, every word, every act of love or omission. During this time, remarkable spiritual encounters also occur. Spiritual guides, mentors, deceased relatives, all may approach to guide, console, or simply wait until the spirit is ready to move on. But attention! Not all spirits accept this help. Some are so attached to material vices, to anger, to attachment or fear, that they refuse to move forward. And that's why rescue teams, composed of elevated and trained spirits, act with love and patience during these 7 days. They don't force, they don't impose. They wait, they support, they vibrate light. They do everything possible to guide the spirit to a new stage, where it can be treated, guided, and prepared for its new journey. This period is as sacred as birth. It is the rebirth of the soul into a more subtle, truer plane, the spiritual plane. But few are prepared, few know how to act, few understand the greatness of these 7 days. And in the next section, we'll talk about one of the greatest spiritual dangers faced by those who pass: the obsessive ties that still bind them to earth. Ties created by unresolved feelings, addictions, and emotional pacts that transcend death. Stay with me. What comes next is powerful, necessary, and it may be the key to freeing you and those you love. The reaction of the soul, according to its evolution. Perhaps this is one of the deepest and most ignored truths about what happens after death. Not all souls have the same experience. The spiritual transition is not the same for everyone. It varies according to what the soul built during life. More evolved spirits, detached from matter and aware of spiritual reality, experience death with ease. They are welcomed with serenity, feel peace, and often already know what is happening. In some cases, they even have the ability to detach from the body with full lucidity, helping other souls in the process. These spirits do not carry the weight of guilt nor fear the unknown. They know that death is not an end, it is merely a passage. But the same is not true for materialistic, selfish spirits. attached to power, vanity, or earthly pleasures. These spirits enter deep turmoil. They don't understand why they're there. They deny death. They revolt. Some find themselves stuck in earthly places, repeating past routines, trying to communicate with the living without success. And this difference in perception is something Allan Kardec explains clearly and deeply in his works, especially in the Spirit's Book and Heaven and Hell. According to Kardec, the moral state of the soul at the moment of death defines the type of experience it will go through. If it is a purified soul, with a clear conscience, it will be surrounded by light and support. If it carries remorse, spiritual ignorance, or heavy attachments, it will go through painful trials until it is ready to evolve. In Heaven and Hell, Kardec reports real communications from spirits who died under different conditions. Some convey messages of peace, hope, and wisdom. Others, however, describe indescribable torment, honestly revealing the suffering they face for still being tied to ego and past mistakes. This is a powerful lesson. What you sow in life, you reap in death, but not as punishment and rather as learning. Because divine justice does not punish, it educates, it does not condemn, it transforms. And now, in the next section, we will address a truth that can completely change your way of seeing life. What happens to souls that refuse to leave and remain among the living? Get ready. What comes next is strong and necessary. Accounts from spirits about this period. Have you ever wondered what spirits themselves say about the first days after death? The answers exist. They are recorded in letters, books, and psychographic communications, many of them through the blessed hands of Chico Xavier, the medium who gave voice to those who departed. And what these souls share is both moving and transformative. In hundreds of messages, spirits have described their sensations in the first hours after death. Confusion, surprise, fear, but also relief, light, and reunions. A feeling that appears frequently is not realizing they had died. Many only understand once they see their own body or when they feel the failed attempt to speak with the living. In one of the letters psychographed by Chico, a young man who had died suddenly said, "Mom, I was screaming for you. I was crying, but you couldn't hear me. That's when a lady of light appeared and hugged me. It was like waking up from a nightmare." That lady was a rescue spirit, sent from a spiritual colony to help him understand what was happening. And this is where a key point enters: spiritual colonies. The book Nosso Lar, Our Home, dictated by the spirit André Louise and psychographed by Chico Xavier, offers one of the most complete descriptions of the reception that spirits receive after the transition. There we learn that there are organized spiritual cities with hospitals, schools, guidance centers, all aimed at the rebalancing of the newly disembodied soul. These colonies are not fiction. They are real environments of the spiritual plane, prepared by superior spirits to receive those who are already capable of understanding and following their evolutionary path. But not everyone goes directly to them. Some remain wandering, disturbed, trapped in the earthly plane due to a lack of inner preparation. That's why these psychographed messages have immense value. They are direct testimonies from the other side of life. They show that death is not the end. It is the beginning of a journey of revelations, reunions, and learning. And in the next section, we are going to talk about one of the greatest secrets kept by spirituality, the exact moment when the soul is called to move forward or remains among us. Stay with me until the end. What you're about to discover may change your view on death and on life. What we can do for someone who just passed. Did you know that even after death, you can still make a difference in someone's life? No, I'm not talking about lost souls or ghosts. I'm talking about souls that depart, but still need our help. Many times we don't understand what happens on the other side, but spirituality teaches us that our contribution doesn't end when someone leaves this plane. And the first thing we can do is pray. The power of prayer is immeasurable. When we pray for a loved one who has passed, we are not only asking for peace for ourselves, but also for that spirit. Prayer is an energy of light that can be directed to them, whether to ease their confusion or to help them find their way in the first hours after the transition. Rescue spirits are often sent to meet those in need, but our prayer can be a direct plea, a way to intensify the help. It's important to understand that prayer is not just a request, it's an emission of love, light, and compassion. This creates a spiritual atmosphere that can calm the newly disembodied soul, providing it with the tranquility needed to continue on its path. In addition, how can we maintain an environment of light and love after someone's passing? This is an essential aspect of life after death, because our energy directly influences the spiritual condition of the deceased. When we maintain a harmonious and serene environment full of peace and good feelings, we are creating a true spiritual protection not only for ourselves, but also for the departed soul. Sadness and excessive lamentation, although natural, can generate heavy vibrations that hinder the soul's adaptation process. That's why it's important to celebrate the life of the one who has left, instead of fixating on the suffering of absence. Love and gratitude for everything that was experienced are the greatest spiritual gifts we can offer. And finally, death is in reality part of life. It is a cycle. Understanding this frees us from fears and lamentations. Death is a passage, not an end. Every life and every departure has its purpose. When we are able to accept death as part of our own evolution, we become more prepared to live more fully, more consciously, and more connected to the spiritual plane. Now, to close, I will reveal something that many people don't know, a secret about how our intention during mourning can affect the quality of the afterlife for those we love. Stay until the end, and you'll understand how to make a difference now and for eternity. Death is not the end. This is the greatest teaching that the Spiritist doctrine offers us. Death is merely a return to our true home, the transition point from one state to another, from a physical body to a spiritual body. Our time on earth, as valuable as it is only a phase of an infinite cycle of learning and evolution. What truly matters, what we take with us, are the experiences of love, the lessons learned, and the energy we transmit to others. Living with awareness doesn't mean living in constant fear or worry about death, but rather living with purpose. Death comes for everyone, but the legacy we leave behind is eternal. If we live with kindness, compassion, and respect, these qualities transcend the body and become part of our spiritual essence. We are what we cultivate throughout life, and what we cultivate is not matter, but the feelings and attitudes we spread wherever we go. Forgiveness, love, charity, and spirituality are the only things that can never be taken from us. These virtues are the true treasures we carry to the beyond. And they are what determine our spiritual future, as well as the kind of experience we will have after death. So, cultivate goodness in every action, in every thought. Practice forgiveness. Live with love and compassion. Make that your mission. When you connect with your spirituality, you not only transform your life, but you also prepare for a peaceful and serene disincarnation, knowing that you left the best of yourself on earth. Now, I want you to reflect personally. Are you living the life you would want to take to the beyond? Think about it. If you liked this content, if it touched your heart and sparked new reflections, share this video with someone you love. Leave your comment below. Tell me what you think about life after death and how you deal with the idea of spiritual transition. I also want to know where you're watching from. Let's make this message reach more hearts. Thank you for staying until the end. May light and love be with you now and always.